Yes, people, and welcome back to another edition with your boy Ashmatic, discussing things all football, all Spurs. I want to get into the tactics. I want to get to hear you guys' thoughts as well. But I've got a few guests to let me unpack the situation that is Ange Ball. I've got a lovely guest. It's the first time I'm sharing a screen with her, and she goes by the name of Holly. How are you doing, Holly?
I'm not too bad. Thank you for having me. I'm really looking forward to this one. I must say, I really like that intro, man. It's a bop.
Nothing to do with me, boy. You have to big up Marlon for that one. Marlon's the creator behind that. But yeah, I do like it myself. We've also got someone else on the stream to help accompany me. His name is Charlie. How you doing, my bro?
All good, all good. First time on the show, my debut, so I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for having me on, Ash. Good to see you as well, Holly, on here. So yeah, should be a great show. Looking forward to it.
Cool. I'm gonna get straight into it, guys. There was a Brighton game on the weekend. I'm sure you all both watched it and enjoyed it, but a lot of fans weren't exactly happy, especially like the first half. I feel like the first half was reminiscent of maybe like a Brentford, maybe an Everton kind of frustration within the fan base. What are you guys? What are your thoughts on this performance against Brighton? Obviously, I'll start with you, Holly.
I think you're right. I think you hit the nail on the head. It was a very frustrating game. I'm not going to lie to you. I think I paced up and down the lounge multiple times saying things that I will not repeat. But I think that's just the way that I kind of looked at it. Yes, it's frustrating, but we need to remember all these players are just coming back from injury. We've had players that have been missing for a couple of weeks, obviously, in different competitions. And I think sometimes you just need to sit back and be like, actually, hang on a minute. These guys are human. It's going to take a little while for them to click back into the system. And it has been a very long time since we've had everyone fit again. So it was frustrating, but you know what? We managed to get the deal done in the dying moments. Yes, not the idealist thing, but 3 points is 3 points.
Just on that, you said like we've got our players back, and I feel like there was a expectation from the fan base that when we have all of our players back, we're going to do exceptionally well. We're going to get back to that form that was, that 10 games unbeaten, and we're going to be able to blow teams away. And I just wanted to say to you, like, do you think that is something that we can look forward to, or is it going to, do you think that's the reason why we were so frustrated, basically?
I think so. I think the trouble is, at the start of the season, if you asked me where do we think we were going to finish, after losing Harry Kane, after bringing a new manager that I wasn't too sure whether he was going to be the man for the job. I mean, he's proved us all wrong. And to sit here now to think we're still potentially in the fight positions for top four. I just think it's a crazy thing to be a part of, and I think that's where our ceiling has gone up. Like when we see different players, potentially like Mickey van der Ven against Brighton. Obviously, he made a couple of mistakes, but you're thinking to yourself, I haven't seen him made a mistake all season because he's so good, and I think that's kind of where our perspectives are getting a little bit, I wouldn't say blurred, but you're kind of wanting to expect more and more. But I think it's a good thing, and it's a testament of what's to come, if that makes sense.
Great. So, Charlie, great result, bad performance. Where do you sit on this?
Yeah, Ash, you pretty much summed it up there. For me, if I'm being honest, completely honest, that was terrible. That was a terrible, terrible game. I mean, at the end when we scored that goal at the end, I obviously looked scenes fantastic to get a last minute winner, but I was sitting there thinking to myself, how do we pull that off? Like, how have we just gone and pulled that off, considering what was happening? And the first thing I kind of thought of was, it reminds me of what happened last season when we played Brighton. If you guys remember the home game, it was the same scoreline. We beat them 2-1. And literally the exact same thing happened. We were, I thought, outplayed for a lot of that game. In that game, they had a lot of VAR decisions go against them. So I guess that was a little bit different. But in terms of our performance and kind of the result not being deserved, it was kind of similar. And I thought, yeah, look, first half was the worst part. I thought first half again, it was very similar to the Brentford game. We just didn't get going whatsoever, and that's despite having players back, like the defenders coming back, like Madison coming back. I don't know what it was. We looked just so void of ideas and just nothing. We did have a few chances even there where we just kind of, again, and this has been a problem with our forward line a lot this season, just getting into positions and just overthinking and then not shooting, almost trying to score the perfect goal. That's kind of the best way I can say it. And that's kind of what was happening. And even our equaliser, I thought there was a touch of good fortune with that, where, it comes off the side, comes off the post, and then he gets a second bite of the cherry, I guess. And then obviously he puts it away. But yeah, no, look, obviously I sound very negative here, but it was a great result, obviously, always looking to get 3 points. But that performance, it concerned me. It really, really concerned me a lot. And I've said it on a few shows now. I don't know what's going on, but we've got to do better in our game. And it's, look, the thing I've complained about the most is the forward line, not being clinical, being wasteful in front of goal. But something's going on with the midfield. It happened in the Everton game. It happened before that as well, where just our midfield isn't taking full control of games like it was if you remember the first 10 games of the season. I thought similar results. We were winning games, but we had control of all of the game. I thought we were in control of a lot of those games, and for whatever reason, it just hasn't been that way the last few games. Just we haven't been in control at all. And I think, as well as the forward line, that's something that we'll have to change if we're going to get better. So yeah, just to summarize, great result, and performance not so much, but we'll have to see where this goes.
Man, like, it's, for me, it's crazy. Like, I wasn't watching the game live. I missed it. I had other things to do, and I literally caught match of the day first. But my WhatsApp messages were getting crazy. Like, my phone was blowing up, and I'm thinking, oh my days, we must have lost the way people are moving. Then obviously I saw the result and I was like, 2-1 last minute. Maybe we stunk it out and basically we got the last minute winner. We're lucky. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm going into that mindset, watching the highlights and match of the day, like thinking, they're going to absolutely ruin us like a Man City. I'm watching the highlights now and I'm like, hold on a second. Why are they only showing Spurs' chances? I don't understand. I'm only seeing Spurs' chances at the moment. So I'm not computing. I'm like, I need to watch this whole game and even the pundits, they're talking, but they're not saying like Tottenham got ripped to pieces, ripped to shreds, blah, blah, blah. And I know you need to watch the whole game. Now, it's funny. I'm in a WhatsApp group with Iggy. And I said to Iggy, I said, bro, what happened? Like, what happened in the game? And he said straight away, Ash, we didn't play super great, but it's not as bad as everyone else is making out. Do you know what I'm saying? And the reason why I mention that is because I feel like with fans, we are ultra reactionary. That's the word. So I'm like, all right, cool. Let me calm down. Let me watch it and let me see it. So I watched it back the full game, and I'm gonna get Johnny's take on it before I fully go into it, before I dissect it. So what are you saying, Johnny, man? Welcome to the show, first of all. First time.
How you doing, Holly, Charlie? I see you. So I missed. What, you talking about reactionary to the Brighton game?
Yeah, to the Brighton game. Yeah.
Listen, I think whichever way you go, there's a reaction. Let's be honest. Look, I call it as I see it. Okay, whatever I'm going to say is there's going to be someone who challenges it. I thought we got out of jail. The one thing about Brighton, if you're going to press them, you have to press them wholeheartedly, 100% with aggression. Otherwise, they'll play straight through the press. And that's what they did, They've watched the games against Everton, Manchester City, and seen and Brentford, and seen how to combat us. I thought we were very, very lucky. I mean, Danny Welbeck, the save from Danny Welbeck was absolutely world class. It doesn't seem to have got enough coverage, in my opinion. And the save from Mitoma, we could have been 3-0 down after 15, 20 minutes. But we weren't. But we never recovered possession. Look, Ange Ball encourages players, unlike Conte, to be brave with the ball. Where there was a fear last season to lose possession at every given moment, passing the ball backwards and sideways. Under Ange Ball, where he encourages them to make that risky pass to go forward, but we couldn't even do that. You know, it didn't resemble Ange Ball at all. It resembled bad Conte ball. I don't know. It was very depressing. I've got to be honest in that first half. You know, there was a couple of chances. Richie slipped through Kulu, who could have done a little bit better, but it was a good save from Steele. And Richie put through Maddison, who had a shot went narrowly past. Second half, the thing what I didn't understand, I didn't think Kulu had a great first half. And then he started to come into the game in that second half, puts the ball through for Papa Sarr, lovely weighted pass, and then he gets dragged off. Couldn't quite understand it. So you think the momentum's there. We're 1-1 now. The crowd's up. All of a sudden there's belief. What do? Same as what happened when we went 3-1 up against Brentford. We just backed off. We stopped and we let them back into the game. Now, I'm going to say something about Brennan Johnson. Listen, whatever I'm going to say about him, it's not going to go down well. For me, it was Brenda Johnson, I'm afraid, that turned up. Everything he did, if you took away the goal that he put away, everything he did in that 26 minutes was shocking. You know, it was terrible. He came short when he should have gone long. He never beat his man. When he went one-on-one, he didn't even go. When he did get put through, he shot too early with no power. Ball came over the top. It hit his knee, went out of play. He lost the ball once with about 10 minutes to go. And I thought, what are you doing? You've got to stop doing that. And then I think 2-3 minutes before we scored, he lost possession on that on that right-hand side, and they broke. And Ansu Fati should have scored. He should have got that on target. It really was a gilt-edged chance. And lucky enough, we managed to get down from that move. It was a great move. I thought it was a fantastic goal from Maddison to Richie spinning, laying it back to Maddison, back to Richie. Lovely weighted pass. Son puts it on a plate. Tell me, he says at the end, right, Ash, he was too tired to celebrate, right? Well, hang on a minute. He'd been on 26 minutes. What do you mean you were too tired to celebrate? I mean, you're 22 years of age. You're a professional athlete. I'm a bit baffled by it. Look, I hope the kid turns it round and wins the fan base over. But it was mistake after mistake after mistake. And he said, I was really nervous. I was really nervous. Oh, come on. If you're nervous coming on, you know, against Brighton, with 26 minutes to go, what are you going to be like when you play Man Cities and the Man Uniteds and the Arsenal games? Look, I don't wish to bash him over the head, right? Because there was a lot of poor performances. But for me, come on, you know, maybe leave him on the bench, let him come off the bench. Please don't let him start at the moment because there's something not quite right. He needs to work on his football IQ. Sorry, I'm going to go on a rant here. I better stop.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, bro, I feel it. But look, you're representing a lot of the fan base.
It's a great result, Ash. It was a
yeah, no, of course.
result.
And I said that at the start. And obviously, I'm going to come to you, Andy, as well. It's the first time, a lot of debuts today. Andy's your first time inside Spurs TV. If you can change your camera or your phone to sideways, that's when you see that works.
Yeah. We need to go back to Vinny sideways.
Yeah, Vinny sideways. Does it work? Is it rotating?
No.
Not rotating. Unfortunate. Don't worry about it, bro. It's all right. As long as we can hear you, you're good. I wanted to get your take on it. Obviously, Johnny wasn't happy about Brennan Johnson. He only played 30 minutes of the game. And obviously, we played a full 90. And a lot of fans weren't happy with the first half of the actual performance. People said that the second half we came out better, we looked sharper, we were stronger. What are your thoughts on the Brighton game, considering as well De Zerbi is known for how good he is at, you know, starting a philosophy, getting it together, putting it into these players' heads, compared to Ange, who some fans will say he's only had, you know, 6 to 8 months to kind of get that philosophy and ideology across to those players. What are your takes on that?
Well, I mean, I was at the game, and you know, at the start of the game, it's lively as anything. It weirdly felt like a derby for no reason. It was just really raucous. It was loud, and look, we didn't start the game well at all. We looked like the away side, I think, for a good 30, 35 minutes of that first half. And ironically, when we obviously went 1-1, we made all the subs and it just went flat. It was really weird. We're all excited to see Sonny back, obviously, after a pretty rough week. We're excited to see Basuma back, obviously, having a pretty interesting time away at AFCON. Obviously, Johnson came on as well, but we scored and then the momentum went and the game was just sort of coasting along. No team was really taking the scruff of the neck. And, had Brighton maybe just had that a little bit more of a killer instinct, that game could have been over, 70 minutes in after a few of those chances in the second half. But I think with Johnson, it's really difficult because you can tell there is something there. He's still very young. We know that. He was really good the second half of the season after the World Cup for Forest last year. And I think the idea maybe was to bring him in and have him develop slowly and sort of get to grips with the new system. I mean, we've got a whole new system in place under Ange and the guys there, but also just we're changing a whole philosophy at the club as well. And I think maybe he was ushered in a bit too quickly. And I think, unfortunately, with Son missing time, Kulusevski missing time, Solomon being, sick note, it's kind of unfortunately forced him in, and he looks like he's lacking a bit of confidence at the moment. And maybe this whole Matt Hardy link that he's got going on right now, maybe that's what we need, but it's difficult. I think
Matt Hardy, oh my God, honestly, it looked like Limp Bizkit, right? Honestly, Matt Hardy, it looked, I don't know about you, listen, I'm not a massive WWE fan, but it didn't look like any wrestling celebration to me. But maybe
100% it's a Matt Hardy celebration. I watched WWE back in the day, and that was what he used to do. He used to do the fingers, and then he used to jump through the table. There you go.
And Jeff.
Big Jeff, yeah, that's it. Jeff Hardy, man. What a legend. I want to get to Holly as well. Because it's a talking point that has to be discussed. It's the number one trending topic at the moment. So I have to talk about that front three. That front three consists of Werner, Richarlison, and Johnson. Now, my question to you, Holly, is do you think moving forward that front three can help us to get to the top four? And like, if we were to get into Champions League, do you think they're sufficient enough to do the business?
It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because we're all used to that man that sadly left in the summer. And I think we're kind of at the point where we expect goals to happen out of nothing. And don't get me wrong, I think Richarlison has come on leaps and bounds. I mean, apart from the game just gone, he was scoring in pretty much every game. And that is something you kind of want from your striker. But in terms of the other two, I think, touching on Johnson, I think he is a confidence player and he's still very young. And I know people say, well, in football, it doesn't matter how young you are because look at City, look at Liverpool and how they bring players in. But I think in terms of a player like Johnson, he's not like your natural kind of player that you see in terms of Salah. When people compare players, you look at Salah, he can score goals, he can put a cross in. I feel like Johnson's a player that's got a lot of pace and will want to get that cross in rather than score. So to say the least, I don't think he had a great game when he came on, but he was in the right place at the right time to score the goal, and that's kind of what you want. So I think for me, he's going to come on leaps and bounds. It's just a matter of time. And I think where we're all at this stage, like I said earlier, with Ange Postecoglou, in a sense that we didn't think we were going to be where we are right now. I think in that kind of sense, I'm just going to hold my hands up and say, you know what? If that's Ange is going to put confidence in these players, let it be. And I kind of agree with Andy in a sense that I don't think he's necessarily that player that we would be pushing to start all the time. He's more of a player you want to introduce to the squad, but we've had to do it with all these injuries. So slightly going back to your question, because I know I've got off tangent, I think these players that we have can push on to get us top four towards the end of the season, but I think in the summer we definitely need to bring in someone that's probably a bit more prolific up the top, because like we say, if Richarlison has another game like he did against Brighton where he wasn't necessarily finding the target, then you're kind of thinking we need to add someone in. And I think in terms of Werner on the other side, For me, if he's not going to score the goals, he's got to be contributing. And I think we've seen already that he is able to contribute in terms of assists. I think for me, that's definitely something I want to come from it. And it's one of those things where if it's not going to work out towards the end and we do get a better option in, it hasn't cost us anything to get to that point. So it's a difficult one, but I think definitely in the summer we'll be looking to recruit a few more to get us even further over that line and build on for what we've already done this season.
Fair enough. And just to you, Johnny, do you think Richarlison is in a purple patch? Or is it a case of where it's one game, isn't it? You know, one game he's missed out. Brighton obviously are a top team, but they're not like the big six. So you expect him to score against maybe like a Brighton. Is this like a one-off? Do you expect him to score against Wolves and Crystal Palace moving forward? Or is it a case where when we get to the bigger teams like your Arsenals, your Man Cities, that's when you want to judge your top players? Can Richarlison do it at that level?
Listen, I would say that there's been certain games where he hasn't scored, but his work rate has been outstanding. I think against Brighton, he had some terrible touches. You know, his first touch was awful in that first half. But what he did do, he had a lovely weighted pass for Kulu, who I think should have done a bit better. He had a lovely weighted pass for Maddison, who might have scored, so he might have had an assist there. And I think the weighted pass for Son was superb at the end of that game when he was absolutely knackered. And I think one part that he does play, which seems to have gone unnoticed, our best defensive header of the ball was the man that's left, Harry Kane. Every time we had a corner against us, it was Harry Kane that was nearly always clearing that ball. And it seems that Richie is the man who's actually getting his head to quite a few of these balls. Look, he's 25. He's got a lot more to do in his game. He's still working on his game. I don't think he's the finished article. But if you're looking for heart, desire, and, we're talking about confidence, as Holly quite rightly said, confidence breeds confidence. And we've seen now he's had this operation, he's moving freer, that confidence has come back. I didn't really see his head drop in that game when it wasn't his best game against Brentford. He still kept ploughing away, whereas earlier in the season, his head would have dropped down and his whole body language was all wrong. I don't, this thing, he's not Harry Kane, you've got to replace him. I think it's all nonsense. You can't replace Harry Kane. He's a generational talent. You can't replace Ronaldo. You can't replace Messi. There's certain players, they don't come off the conveyor belt every day. If there was a 30-goal striker out there, everyone would be wanting him, and we wouldn't be in the queue. We'd be right at the back of the queue, should I say, to get him. So I think we have to acquire another striker because one striker is definitely not enough. It's not even enough, in my opinion, for the Premier League, let alone to going into Europe. Especially with the Ange ball being so taxing on the hamstring. So I would say we desperately need another left back. We desperately need another striker and maybe another winger. I just want to see a winger, Ash, that takes players on. I just, I don't see Kulu taking them on a lot. As we all know, he checks back. Johnson definitely doesn't have the confidence to take players on. And I just think if you take players on and you drive into the box, a winger who cuts in and drives, he's going to win free kicks. You're going to win positions for us. And I just don't see enough of that. I expected to see more of that under Ange because you had Jota at Celtic with Kygo. And, a lot of the goals came from those flanks with tap-ins, low cross into the box. I think it will come, but I think more likely it's to come towards the end of this season or next season where we're going to see a more fluid attack. Because right now, I don't see a fluid attack.
Andy, it's kind of like a question mark in terms of what fans think we need in the summer. And I've watched a few of your shows. You do quite a bit on transfers. Now, do you think the club are earmarking an out-and-out winger like an old school winger that kind of gets to the byline, like Johnny was saying, does those cutbacks or those crosses into the box, or, you know, like Johnson does, stings it across the 6-yard box? Or are they looking for an inside forward, someone that's more of a goal threat, and someone that, you know, like the new mold, the new kids on the block? Do you know what I'm trying to say? What do you think Ange wants? What do you think the club are targeting? Is it more of a forward on the wing, or is it more an out and out winger that beats his man, as Johnny was saying, and crosses the ball into the box? Which one do you think it is, or which one would you like to see more?
I think there's a few factors that go into it. I think, you know, do they keep Werner? I think that's going to be, I think, quite key parts. That when you think of like the wingers, you'll have Solomon, you'll have Werner, Johnson, Kulusevski. I expect Brian Hill to move on, to be honest. You know, Son and Richarlison leading us in through what is going to be 2 to 3 games a week next season. You got to remember, this season we've been very fortunate in a weird way to only play once normally. You know, it gives Ange so much time to actually have sped up this process of, this is how the system is, this is how we play X, Y, and Z. I've seen the rumours with Neto, I've seen it with Rafinha, I've seen it with some quite, you know, they are good, all quite good wingers. There's something about a number 9 who is going to consistently get you 20, 25 goals a season that just completely change the whole club from being, you know, a top 5 club at the moment is what we are. You know, I know Villa and us are 4th and 5th, neck and neck. To let's see where we are with the Liverpools and the Man Cities and the Arsenals of the world. You know, we're not miles behind them. You know, had maybe Son not had the Asian Cup, and maybe we didn't have the AFCON, it might be different. But having an out-and-out number 9 with Son doing what he did this season, I think would show us. Imagine if we had that guy alongside a Son. I think there's something to be said about having an actual number 9. But if Ange kind of thinks we can get by Richarlison, maybe Veliz develops out in Sevilla, that maybe that he goes, instead of going to go get a marquee striker, do we go and get a marquee winger? Is it Neto from Wolves? Is that the guy that we're going to go for? I think I'm going to go striker, but if Ange wants Neto, then I'm not one to say otherwise.
So you want a striker, but you think the club or Ange is targeting a winger? We're going to like have all of our budget basically on a winger in the summer.
I think they go a centre half. I think they go midfielder. I think they go winger. I mean, if I had to put my guess on it, the midfield, most obvious kind of at the moment. But I think it will be a winger. To be honest, I do. I like Santiago Jimenez, but again, it's the Eredivisie. Can you really rely on 40, 50 million to a guy who? No, it's not a top 5 league. I think it'll be something like a Rafinha. I don't see Spurs getting Neto. I think he'll go to Arsenal. I think Spurs will go Rafinha.
And Charlie, same question as well. What are your thoughts on like the Werner Kulu combination? And do you think as well we'll go big on the winger in the summer? As Andy's already said, he reckons Neto will probably either go Arsenal. We know Liverpool are looking for a replacement for Salah when he eventually goes. So maybe they're earmarking a Neto. I know a lot of the fans want him, but how do you see it in the summer? Who do we go for? Is it a forward? Is it a striker? What are your thoughts on Werner and Kulu?
Okay, this is quite an interesting topic because a lot of people are saying we need an out and out number 9. You know, for me, honestly, I think, look, this is what I think we should do. What we do actually do is another story. But what I think we should do is, I think with Son down the middle, I think that him, you know, getting on the end of chances, he's extremely clinical. I think we'll be okay with Son down the middle. What we actually need, for me, is a left and a right winger who can add consistent output. Because honestly, the wingers we have at the moment, including Werner and stuff on the topic, they're for whatever good qualities they have or whatever they're good or bad at, they don't bring consistent output in front of goal. And for modern day wingers, you know, they've set very high standards. If you're wingers these days, you have to be hitting consistent output. Like, look at Son. Look at every year Son, he's delivered year in, year out, 15 to 20 goals. You know, that's kind of what you've got to be doing as a winger in the game today. And I think so for me.
How many Sons are there in the world?
Well. I think you've got to. I think you've got to find them. You know, I'm not saying you're going to get that straight away out of them, but I think there's players that you can get out there that you can develop into that. So I think for me, we need to get 2 wide players that have, you know, pace, physicality, you know, and output. More importantly, the examples I've always used is you need. I'm not saying we're going to get these exact names or they're ever going to come to Spurs, but like you need. On the left, you need like a Rafa Leao type player, you know. On the right, a Jeremy Doku type player. You know, those are the profiles you're looking at for me that will thrive in the Ange system. I think they're the perfect fit. And I think for me, you know, I'd rather go for 2 wide players that are clinical than just buy number 9, you know, because I think we have Son for that. So that's what I would do. For me, what we will do, I don't know, you know. I don't believe.
Are you keeping Richie, or are you getting?
I think to be honest, Johnny, I've never been his biggest fan, but I think you have to keep him with the form he's been on. You can't say anything. I think, you know, you can't let go of him. I think for me, even with Richie, like, look, him being like when you need a goal, you know, last 10, 20 minutes or so, bring him on. It adds something different. You can whip crosses in. I think Richie, I'm cool with that. I think having him there for that is fine, but long run, will he continue this form in front of goal remains to be seen. So yeah, you know, I don't think you can let go of him at the moment, but for me, that's what I would do. 2 wide players, Son through the middle.
Charlie, asking you, just out of curiosity, you say play Son through the middle, right? We've all seen what happens when you play Son through the middle in a low block against.
No, that's not true. That's not true. That's a myth.
Well, it's not a myth because I watch him get bullied. You know.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. Hold on. No. The reason that happens in those games is because he's making so many good runs time and time again, and we're not feeding him the ball. Look at, for example, the West Ham game at home. That was a low block team that you're talking about. People say he didn't have a good game in that game, but time and time again, he was making run after run, and we just weren't finding him. So I think this whole low block thing with Son, I think it's a myth. You know, I just think we're not finding him as a team because we struggle to break down low blocks sometimes.
He's not a player that can hold the ball up, though, is he? You know, you throw a hard ball up to him as the centre forward, he's not going to be the guy that holds that ball up. He's not that guy. I don't think.
Yeah, but I don't think that's the entire game of being a striker.
No, you know, part of it. I mean, Richie's not great at it either on Saturday. That wasn't part, you know, that wasn't a great part of his game. He was much. And
better. I think with Son, I actually think that he can hold the ball up. And not obviously, look, not to the level of like a big physical striker, but I think for a player that's naturally been out wide for a long time, I think he's not too bad because he holds on to the ball. He's not a player that typically loses the ball. Like he can actually, like if you watch him, he's very good at holding on to the ball. So I think because of that, I think he holds up the ball not as bad as people think, you know.
Just a quick question with Jay. I'm going to quickly bring Jay in. And Holly, thanks for coming on. If you need to cut at any time, dig yourself up.
I feel really bad, but it's past my bedtime.
This is a response. This is what a responsible woman looks like, everybody. You know, let's all take note.
My brain's just fried, man. And I want to say thank you for inviting me on. Next time, I'll make sure I have a good night's sleep the night before, and I'll come back on again. But thank you so much. I'm going to dip now so you guys can carry on with your conversation. But thank you.
Blessings.
Bye, Holly.
See you later.
Yeah. All right, cool. All right, Jay. So what are your thoughts on this whole situation? People are talking smack on his name.
All right, okay.
Come on, Jay, give us it.
Good evening, everybody. First and foremost. So, okay, so Brennan's my guy. Yeah, so I'm a Brennan Johnson guy. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you watch wrestling, you know, like a Paul Heyman guy. I'm a Brennan Johnson guy. Yeah, that's me. And the thing that I think when you look at these young players and things like that, and when you're judging young players, don't judge players in a vacuum. I never judge players in a vacuum. Too many people judge players in a vacuum. So first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to bring all the wingers in. Yeah, we're going to bring all the wingers in the league in. Yeah, because when you want to compare these wingers, if you want to say someone's bad or somebody's not good, you need a context as to why they're bad. They can't just be bad, period. Like, are they bad in relation to boom? So Johnson, first of all, has the same goal contributions as Rashford, as Martinelli, as Doku. All these people that you praise, all these people.
No, but game, come on, Jay.
No, hold on.
Game contribution.
Let him land.
Hold on, everybody. All I'm saying is, right, that
it's
first
a parachute,
and foremost,
man. Yeah.
Hey, listen, I'm just saying, first and foremost, is Brennan Johnson playing at the level that I think he's capable of? No. Before he scored that goal on the weekend, even me, a staunch Brennan Johnson fan, was looking at that performance like, yowza, this is going to be a tough one to defend at full time. And then he gets the goal, and it's like, whoo, phew. So if you're not going to play well, at least contribute. If you're not going to be able to affect the game from a performance point of view, at least add a goal or an assist or do something. So that's where we're at with Brennan at the moment. He's not playing at the level that we know he's capable of, or I think he's capable of, but he's a young player who's developing, and you need to give these players time. And in isolation, it's not of the level. But people talking about getting this winger and that winger, for me personally, it comes down to very simple things. Your squad building is your squad building. Yeah, it's not Football Manager. It's your squad building. So if you want to bring in 2 wingers, yeah, okay, Werner's definitely not staying. Okay, so if Werner's definitely not staying, okay, there's potential for
Did
this.
you say he's definitely not staying? Did you?
No, I'm saying that from the point of view of people that are saying bring 2 wingers in. If you want to bring 2 wingers in, Werner's definitely not staying. So then you look at it from the point of view of saying, okay, if we're going to bring 2 wingers in, you already have Johnson and Kulu on the right wing, right? So people are like, okay, we're gonna bring another right winger in, yeah. Well, we want Gallagher, or we want Ramsey, or we want Edison, so we're bringing in another 40-50 million pound central midfielder, it seems, right? So Kulu's gonna need to make that right winger thing, yeah. Mark, you're missing the point.
Carry on.
I'm saying.
Like, focus. You're on
focus. I was in the zone, but so the point is here that when you want to bring these players in, you've got to look at the squad you've got. You've invested in Brennan Johnson. You need to give him time. Yeah, you've got Kulu on the right wing. The left wing is the wing, really, where you can bring someone in. Yeah, you want to bring in a Koleosho and a Rafinha, sure. You want to bring in a Jonathan Rowe, and so sure, but you can't, in my opinion, bring in 2 high-level wingers into the squad with the squad you've currently got, because you won't have enough time for everybody to develop, because they all need game time and to develop. And you've made a commitment to these players, and you need to see it through. Like, when they're young players, they might not do well all the time. They might not play to the level that you want all the time, but you have to give them a decent period of time, in my opinion, before you say I'm going to go and buy a replacement. I'm going to go buy another winger. I'm going to go buy another starter. In my personal opinion, because you need to give young players the opportunity to develop in an environment free from mistakes, but there is an expectation. So, like I say, I'm not saying these players have indefinite amount of times, but I'm just saying you bring in a high-level winger like a Rafinha or something, and then I'm looking for 1 or 2 starters. I'm not looking for 4, 5, 6 players. I'm looking for 1 or 2 players to come into the starting 11 and nudge the level up a little bit, so the starters become bench players, etc., etc. So that's where I said, when somebody's saying about, oh, these guys have most of the game, I'm not saying that they don't have more to their game. I'm just saying that Brennan Johnson has the same level of contributions as them. Whatever you choose to read into that statement is your wahala. I'm just saying that he has the same level of contributions. Like, I'm
Jay, are you saying you want new wingers for starters? I mean, we got more wingers than Nando's. I'm saying
when I look at the team, we're basically where Arsenal were, in my opinion, before they bought Jesus and Zinchenko.
Okay,
that's around where I think we are as a level.
Depth. So we're looking at depth, right?
I'm looking at bringing in 1 or 2 starters, which then improves the overall depth, but it nudges the level of the first team up. So in the team where I look, okay, so you look at the defense, don't really see you upgrading any of the back five. Okay, so then you look at midfield, you can maybe upgrade a midfielder. You look on the wings, you can maybe get a top winger in, yeah, or a top striker. Because if you get a top striker, Son plays on the wing. If you get a top winger, Son plays up top. So if you look at the first team, I can only see 2 positions where we can really upgrade without having heavy disruption. We've invested £80 million plus on the right wing in the last 12 months. Yeah. So for me to continually say, let's keep buying in that position, I can't justify it. Whereas on the left wing, you've got Solomon on a free, you've got Son getting older. So there's a much bigger justification to buy a high level winger who predominantly plays off the left. And I think that can be justified.
Before I change the subject, I feel like people are itching. Am I wrong to comment on what Jay's just said? Does anyone want to come in before I switch it up?
Charlie, Andy, go on. You go first, man.
No, to be honest, I agreed with a lot of what he said, to be honest. I probably, the only thing I'd say is I don't see the midfield option that's going to one of the 3 spots at the moment. Because I think Sarr is just, you can't drop him at the moment. Maddison, absolute money. And if we have Basuma of, August, September and October, I genuinely can't see anyone that's going to come in for one of those 3. So I agree with the striker or winger. If you get a winger, Son's going through the centre. If you get a striker, Son's going out left. So actually, I agreed with a lot he said, to be honest.
And Charlie?
Go on, Charlie.
Yeah, no, look, I mean, for me, I think, Jay, you said we spent like X amount of money on like wingers and stuff. For me, if you're spending that amount of money and you're not getting consistent output, doesn't that come down to recruitment being poor? If you're spending, like with Johnson, look, I'm not completely writing him off, but from what I've seen so far, I'm not convinced, especially for the money we paid for him. If you look at it, 50 million, that could have gotten you, Diaby, who went to Villa for less, I think. Doku as well for around the same price. So, and not even mentioning the other options out there that we could have got with that money or even less that might have produced a better output. So for me, the question I have to you, Jay, is if we're spending that amount of money, and it doesn't, and you're not getting the output that's consistent, doesn't that show kind of bad recruitment in that
I
area?
disagree. I look at it from the point of view of the perception of what you're expecting from these players. As a team that's 4th, 5th in the league, you expect an X level. So to me, it's like you might critique these players from the point of view of I want to win the league. Yeah, I want to win the league, and this player's output and this player's performance is not conducive to me winning the league. That's a fair statement. But my point is that for where the club wants to be, X and Y, like they are delivering and contributing to an extent whereby their inclusion is justified. If you look at Kulu being 22/23, Johnson being 22, if you want to, for me, you've got to give these players time to develop. And it's easy to look at other teams' wingers like the Elises and the Palmers and all of that sort of stuff. But when Kulusevski was ripping it up, when we got Champions League and started the season well and everything, everyone's saying what a great player he is. He's better than Saka. That's one of the right wing options. Johnson's the other one. We've invested heavily in him just a few months ago. So from my point of view, I can't say it's bad recruitment because the price tag initially justifies the signing of Kulusevski at least. And then Johnson, we got to give him time. But if you look at Kulusevski and say, well, are you saying he's a bad signing or he's not good enough I want to win the league and the player will never be good enough? He's not good enough now for wanting to win the league. He's not as good as Elise or Palmer, or how would those players fare in a team that's challenging higher up in the league rather than a lower level?
Jay, the thing is, I agree. I agree with you on Kulu. I actually think the kind of criticism for him, I think from a lot of our fans, I think is harsh. I think if you delve into the stats of him, he's created like the most chances in Europe and has the most progressive carries in the Premier League, I believe. So I actually think the criticism is as harsh. However, yeah, he does need to improve on his output. But again, he said himself, he reckons his best position is in the middle, you know. So for me with Kulu, it's kind of a bit of a mixed bag, because on one side of me is telling me that, yeah, he's young and these stats, you know, like the progressive carries, like the chance creation, is promising, you know. But on the other side, yeah, he does need to improve his output. So I think having Kulu in our squad, you know, I think he can be a good asset to us. Whether he should be a nailed-on starter week in, week out is another question, you know. And you talk about, Jay, you spoke about, like, you know, where we're buying these players for, like, where we want to be as a club and stuff, you know. But for me, I always say this, like, whatever sport you're playing, you know, whether you're an athlete in the Olympics or whatever sport, football, the whole aim should be to win, you know, to finish first in the race, you know. That's the aim of elite sport, and I don't think it can be argued with, because why does, in any tournament in sport, why do teams or athletes go into it? To try and win, you know. So for me it has to be about trying to win. I don't think it should be about anything else, because that's the aim of elite sport at the end of the day.
So what happens to the others? You see, the problem is with the league, only one team can be
exactly. So for me, every team that competes should be trying to aim for that.
Yeah, no,
because it's the basic elements of elite sport.
No, of course, but it doesn't mean that the team that comes second and third are a bunch of losers, right? Winning games is where we're at.
No, the teams that come second and third, they I'm not saying they're terrible, but the truth of the matter is they've lost.
Our fans do. A lot of our fans think unless you win the title, we're nothing. And unless we look, the thing is, look, as far as Johnson's concerned, right? Unfortunately, you know, the price brings expectation. If Johnson came in at 20 million, we'd all be saying, you know what? He's cost us 20 million. He's 22 years of age. He's got a lot of progression in him. He's not there at the moment. We could understand it. Unfortunately, when we've been limited in how much money we're spending in the market, to see 47 million splashed on him, when you look at, you know, we bought Vicario, Papasar and Destiny Adoji for the same amount of combined money. You know, fans are going to look at the money that's spent on him and think, you know, has it been wasted money? No one knows if it's been wasted money. I think, you know, did we pay too much for him? 100%, I believe we did. You know, Brentford had agreed a deal for £35 million with Forest. And why we ended up paying 47? Because Ange wanted him and Levy wanted to give him, you know, that signing, okay? Something that Levy doesn't normally do. But as for Kulu, look, I was the one going on and on and on that's saying, look, Ange Ball, this is tailor-made now. Got to take Kulu off of the right, put him in the middle. This is where he's going to shine. Convinced of it. And what happens? You get all these injuries. Now's your chance. And I'm afraid to say he hasn't grabbed his opportunity. He has not shone, in my opinion, moving into that central role. I really did think, you know, I was a champion of him playing in that position and showing that he could step in for the likes of Maddison should he be injured. But I don't think he's done that. I was convinced, you know, here's a guy that's always cutting on his foot, trying to get onto his left foot. Come on, stop doing that, right? Play in the middle, show what you've got, show there's more to your game. You know, it was a lovely weighted pass on Saturday for Kulu, for Papasar, but I don't think there's been enough of it. Am I getting rid of him? Absolutely not. You know, he's a young player. He's only going to, you know, he should be improving. The most disappointing thing for me is players like him of his age should be like a Harry Kane. You know, the Harry Kane that left this club was nowhere near the Harry Kane that started for this club. Okay, he worked on so many elements of his game that were nowhere in sight when he first came to this club. Dropping deep and spraying a ball 25, 30 yards to the other side of the pitch. We never saw any of that. That only came when he started working on his game. When Ericsson left, we had a massive void in our club. And I just would really like to see Kulu work on his weaker foot and, you know, show us that, you know, it might be his strongest foot, but he's still got another foot that he can use. I just think that, you know, the wingers, we've got a lot of players now who look like they're going to go or should go or could go. The likes of Skip, Højbjerg, Tanganga, we know the list. There's a whole list of players, Rodon, where we can get money, and hopefully with that money, that we can bring in the key players to add depth, quality. We don't want numbers so much. It's, numbers is great, but not if they're not good enough. And like Jay said, we really need strength in depth. I mean, if Destiny Udogie gets injured, I don't think we've got adequate cover now that Reggie's gone out. We 100% need a quality backup left back. I think if we let Gio go, we 100% need a quality creative midfielder, because we can't rely on Maddison for a whole season. I just think that I think we need about 4 or 5 players, and I don't think that that's going to happen in one window, Jay, do you?
I don't think so. But just before you come in, Jay, I just want to get Andy back in, and I want to put the question, because we have spent quite a bit on this topic. I just wanted to talk about the midfield, because Johnny did mention the midfielders, and obviously there was a lot of talk on Bentancur and Basuma coming back in. My question is Bentancur, Basuma, are they the sixes that we need? Are they in their best position, or do you think we need to upgrade in that position? And I'm starting with Andy, because I haven't heard from Andy for a bit. So I want to get your thoughts on like Bentancur in that game, him playing in the 6, and fans critiquing him. And I've heard some people critique Basuma disciplinary wise, and can he fulfill that? They call it what's the word? A destroyer in the middle. Is he a destroyer? I've heard that.
Enforcer.
Enforcer. But is he really enforcer? I've heard that floated around. So I just want to get your view on this, the whole midfielder situation.
I mean, I think when we look at like enforcers, we always think of Keno and Vieira and things like that. I mean, that just doesn't exist in football at all. Basuma, like I said, Basuma leading into November, I think was probably up there with a Rodri, and you could even say a Rice to a degree, as the best sixes in the league. I think if I was to sort of bookmark, players into their positions, I think you'd have Bentancur. I'd say a 6, because I think defensively, he is a lot more physical than Basuma, but Basuma's a little bit more wily. I think is the difference between the two. I think if we were to lose Sarr, then obviously one of them could easily float into the 8. But I would prefer those two being the 6s. I'd like Sarr and a new guy being the 8s. If it is a Gallagher, then it's a Gallagher. And spot on. Honestly, if we were to lose Gio, we'd have to replace Gio. I know Bergvall's coming in the summer, but we can't put everything on a guy so young, so early, and so quickly. So I think those two guys could easily be good enough 6s. What I worry about in the midfield is how much time they've missed individually. Yes, I know international duty. I can't really put it on that, because it's not something you can control. But Maddison missed 3 months. Basuma's had disciplinary issues. Bentancur's had just come back from ACL, went out with another long-term injury. Feels like you just need bodies in there at some points, because I think at one point or other, I think one of us was on the bench for the midfield role. So Bentancur's good enough to be a 6 for sure. And one thing I have noticed is when Bentancur's rocking and rolling, we were, let's be honest, we had a bunch of kids on the bench. Bentancur was the only midfielder that could actually get forward and do anything. He was absolutely mega that day, and you could tell the difference between a midfield that knew what they were doing and Scooby half the time. So I think Bentancur's class. Issues with injury is my only concern.
Okay.
He's the link man, Ash. When he's on song, as Andy said, Romero to Bentancur, and he's the guy that carries the ball. He's the link that links the whole thing together from the defence, midfield to attack. And I think, when he becomes back, when he's back on song, I think you'll see a different Spurs personally. But it's whether he can get back up there in, the next 3 or 4 games, because he's miles off it at the moment, it seems.
Jay, what do you think about this whole Bentancur Basuma 6 role?
So first of all, I give Bentancur at least till January of next year before I really judge him on a performance level point of view. Really, like whatever he gives us, if he plays like I think he's capable of, amazing. If not, he's just getting back to the person he was. You know, ACLs, it tends to be a year. Like afterwards, it takes him a year in that routine. If you factor in he had the other injury too, I'm sure his body's a little bit out of kilter, especially playing professional men's football at that pace, at that level. So he gets all the context and mitigation from me, like in the world. With regards to the sixes, it's a very interesting one because I personally have this theory that one of Bentancur or Bazuma will not be at the club season 25-26. Yeah, one of them will be sold. Yeah, because I don't. Whilst I don't think that sixes is six, I do think at a certain point in time the club will need to buy a specialist six, like a proper specialist six. And I think the midfielders I've seen the club linked to, like Ramsey or Gallagher or Edison, and who's the other one now? There's another name, I'll think of it in a sec. But yeah, they're all more eights who go forward rather than sixes. So it tells me that he's okay with Bentancur and Bazuma playing that position for the upcoming season. So in turn, that tells me that only both of these guys, I think that both their contracts end at the same time. So it tells me that one of these guys, if they both play six and they're both not quite a perfect six, then the club will realize that over the course of the season and they'll need to make room in the squad for that specialist six, and one of them will need to be sold. So,
Ash, can I just ask you just quickly, do you not think though, judging by the type of player that Ange goes for, he wants a flexi player. He doesn't want rigidity. He doesn't want a player that can only play one position. Like Gallagher can play in various positions from deep line to up top. You're going to have someone like Gerstrude, right, in Holland, right, who can play right back, centre back, or play the six. Is he going to go more for that type of player than an out and out six if he sells Højbjerg or he sells Skip?
I was going to go to Charlie next, but I mean, if you want my opinion on this, because I haven't really said much. Positional play. That is the City way. That's the City group way. That's what we bought Ange in to play this kind of expansive, flow-freeing football, attacking football. And to play that, you're right. You have to have players that are multifaceted and they can fit more than role, because gone are the days when you've got a player that plays a single role, in my opinion.
100%.
It's a particular system. Unless you're playing if it was more of a Conte way or maybe even Ancelotti. Everyone's got their own style, their own system. But I just feel like in this particular, what Ange is trying to do, he's trying to make players. Sometimes I remember I was watching an Aston Villa game and I couldn't figure out who the six was at one point. At one point it was Soso. One point it was Bentancur. I was really confused because the midfield just kept moving and they were taking times to create. And I thought that was quite exciting in my opinion. So I think moving forward, I think you have a point where a player that we bought in, the youngster, I don't know how much minutes he's going to get next season, but by the looks of it, he looks like he can play more than one role. Bergvall for the Swedish kid. So it looks like we're trying to bring those.
I think.
Yeah, he says 8 and 10, but I see he can play a bit like how we brought in, Man United brought in a Maino. Maino's playing a 6, but at youth level, he was playing an 8/10. So I could see him getting bled in to play like a double pivot at times, a bit like Sarr. Where Sarr's playing a double pivot at times. He's actually never the single pivot. I always see him alongside like a Basuma or alongside a Bentancur, or sometimes he drops in a fullback position to pick the ball up and to help with our transitions. So I feel like in those, it's all about players knowing and understand other people's roles. So like, you know what? I might as well just play the video because I made a little video on it as well. I'm gonna bring it up and then I'll get Charlie's thoughts on it. And
one of them videos, is it?
No, I'm dirty, bro. I know it's late, but we keep it clean. So yeah, that was the start. What we had, this Brighton versus Tottenham here. This is our touches in the box. So we're in blue. You can see how many touches we've had, and this is going back to the narrative about Tottenham played awful, Tottenham with this, Tottenham with that. you can see how many touches we had in the box. So it's no longer stats. This is actual visual representation. So you can see how many times we touched the ball in the box compared to how many touches they had inside our box. And this is over the whole of the game. Then if we go forwards, this is our actual passing map. And as you can see, Van der Ven and Romero, they're the two furthest back in almost like a 2. And Bentancur is the 6 at the heart of it. And you can see there's many triangles that happen in that kind of play. Even Madison's almost created a box with Sarr, Romero, Van der Ven, and Bentancur. And the reason being is because it comes out to that positional play, and we're trying to create a numerical advantage over our opposition. And that's how we played through their mid press, or Brighton at the time. They were trying to press us in midfield. And that was our ideas going forward, to kind of beat their press. Whether we were good at it is a different discussion. But obviously you can see your doggy on the left-hand side of Madison. He's kind of like in that half space, and Werner's pulling super wide. Kulusevski super wide as well. Richarlison at the top there. As we go further forward, I'm just saying, in here's our actual creation map. In our creation map, we're quite heavily dominated in the central areas. You can see Werner's area and Son's area. You can see there's quite a few touches there. But in that final third, you can see we've touched the ball quite a bit. And that's just our general play. Again, match dominance based on the timeline. We've dominated. And this just goes back to my point. I feel like Spurs fans be quite reactionary. This is from SofaScore, just to get some more data analytics. I'm not just using one source. I'm using other sources. And the higher the bar, the higher the threat or the attack. But the more bars you see, the more possession we had. So you can see that Brighton had a period at the start of the game. Then we came into it. Then it went back to Brighton. And that's the reason why people have mixed feelings about the first half. But I would say overall, we actually didn't play bad in that first half, especially towards the last 15 to 20 minutes. Second half, we started off well, and that's why people remember that, and we scored the goal. So it kind of triggers people in their memory that we played well in the second half. But then the last 70 minutes, you can see the blue bars, and the bars are quite high around that 70th minute mark. And then towards the end, we get the goal, as you can see there. This is our average position. So again, Kulu's quite high and wide. Werner's wide as well. You've got Brennan tucking in. He's quite central. And our overall play, you can see that our midfield is quite cluttered alongside the fullbacks to invert. So we kind of, again, overload those central areas. That's Spurs for you. There's the subs coming on. You can see Son and number 7 quite high and wide as well. Brennan Johnson 22, a little bit too close to Porro in my opinion.
100%.
A lot of our attack come down on the left hand side. For Brighton, a lot of the attack come down on the left hand side. That's through Montoma, so that makes more sense. Again, here's some of the stats as was spoken about in the comments. 1.65 XG for Spurs, 1.24 for Brighton, 53% possession for us, which means nothing really. 47% means nothing. But in terms of shots, we dominated them. 16 shots. Because I said to someone, yes, Brighton had the ball, but what did they create? What did they actually hurt Vicario? The 2 shots they had were mistakes, and I'll get onto that in a second. 6 shots on target, 3 shots on target for Brighton. 4 shots off target for Spurs, 1 off target for Brighton, and then 6 shots blocked. That's an important metric that people do not look at. How many shots were blocked? That means we were creating at some point in that game, but the shots were being blocked, and that's good credit to Brighton. This is the first half as well. Sorry, second half. No, this is both halves. Sorry, big chances created. But I want to get past this because this is quite boring for me. I'm going to get past the stats. So this is the overall shape I want to look at. The 3 in the middle, and then the 5. And so it goes back to what I was saying. You've got Madison on the left-hand side, Bentancur in central area, and then you've got Sarr. Now, this midfield 3 did not stay the same. Werner outside on the wide because he's the one that picks up that ball in that transition. So sometimes he's high and wide, but sometimes he drops in the fullback position where your doggy, you can see at the top of the screen, he comes in that half space and he's looking to make that run, to make the third man run, I call it. Richarlison's at the top of the screen. And what he does at times is he drops in just to create a small little triangle. And that's a big part of Ange ball, triangles. As you can see here, and Richarlison's dropped in, that triangle's created. And then we've got Udogie there. Madison's there for protection, just in case we lose the ball. You can see Madison there at the bottom of the screen alongside Bentancur and Sarr. And that's how we get that high turnover, just in case things happen. However, things did progress. Here we got Richarlison got the ball, and we've got a mistake. Number one, and that was from Van der Ven. That wasn't even a high press scenario. He literally has his eyes on the ball. He fumbles it, and it's just bad technique because he loses a little bit of concentration because he's looking at the ball, doesn't know where the player is. And then Welbeck gets a chance because of the mistake. It wasn't necessarily through Brighton's actual defensive press, and it wasn't through Brighton's majestic play, you know. It was actually from a mistake from Van der Ven, and that was inside the first minute.
What a save!
Brighton's press. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I was to say what a save that was.
That was a top save.
Yeah.
Also, the Brighton press, Van Heck, you can see here, he starts off the press here, and Romero has the ball. You can see Bentancur is in space. He presses Bentancur because he knows that's the trigger. Bentancur turns out, he tries to, he passes it to Van der Ven. Van der Ven gets the ball. Bonanta passes it on, and then it goes into your doggy. Your doggy is the mistake number 2. He again dwindles on the ball, and he takes too many touches when there was a simple pass on. He doesn't take that simple pass on, and they capitalize on that. And that's a part of the play. When teams recognize a player makes a mistake, they have their numerical advantage, they pounce on that, and it's a press and trigger. And that's where Spurs lose out again. And that's not the first time we've done that this season. Madison, the same thing. Gets the ball. Actually, this is not Madison's mistake. Madison gets the ball here, and you can see him quite deep in that area, and he's trying to make things happen from deep. Here's a mistake from Bentancur. Bentancur tries to dribble it out from the back when we're playing out from the back, and they realize he makes a mistake, and they pounce out. You can see Richarlison on the top of the screen. The easy pass was there for him, but he chooses not to do that, and he tries to dribble out, and that's where we get caught. And from the back of that, that's the mistake happens, and you see Mickey Van der Ven, he gives a penalty away, and they score, and that's how they get into that game. Madison, same thing. Madison makes a mistake, eyes are on the ball, not quite aware of where the player is, fumbles on it, they press him, they win the ball back here. He tries to do the half turn, and then that's where they get the ball. They get the ball, and off the result of that, they almost create a chance. Another example, Bentancur, not one at that part yet. Madison, my point is, the mistakes we make is how Ange wants us to play, because if it pays off, then guess what? We have space in behind, because Brighton tried to press us in the midfield. Madison knows if he beats this line of pressure, then there's a pass onto Porro. Porro's higher up. There's a pass to Kulusevski, who's far wide, or there's a pass just to keep the possession. But either way, he knows that if he gets past that pressure, and as you can see there, Richarlison's on his bike already because he knows Madison's going to get his head up and he's going to play a through ball. And he does that with the outside of his boot, right? Even though people were saying Madison didn't play well, that ball was delicious. Into Richarlison. Richarlison does the right thing, takes the first touch, opens his body up, but then the keeper spreads himself wide. Now, here's where you need a bit of experience. He could either dink it, he could take it around him, he can even put it through the keeper's legs. But I think lately they've been telling them to take 2 touches. Take a touch, then shoot. Take a touch, then shoot. Not always in every scenario do you need to do that, in my opinion. Sometimes you need a bit of composure. Madison's chance, Madison gets on the ball. And as Johnny was saying before, a lovely layoff by Richarlison. He gets out of his feet, outside of the box. And this is what you want to see more from Madison. Higher up the pitch, testing the keeper. It just goes wide. And here, something I picked up on was something like you see with a doggy inverting. He's very one-footed, in my opinion. People criticize Kulusevski for being one-footed. But when you're in this particular area, this is zone 14. Right here, this is where you need to be able to shoot or create. And I think because he's so one-footed, that limits him, and the opposition know that. So he's got no choice but to pass on the inside into Richarlison, who's heavily marked, and to good defending, to be fair to Brighton. They keep close to him, keep tight to him, and then he passes it after Kulusevski, but the pass isn't good enough, and they end up winning the ball back. And that phase of play breaks down. So for me, it's the case of the doggy. I feel like he needs to work on that right foot, and he needs to be able to spread that play on his right, or learn.
Do you think Madison was coming too deep in this game? Because
this is the next thing. Madison creating deep. Deep. This is my next question, by the way. It is my next question, and I'll face it to the panel. We can actually.
Sorry, Ash, I didn't get to answer this one.
Go for it.
The number 6 one. Yeah. So it's an interesting one, because I think Bissouma and Bentancur, I think, are really good players in their own right. For me, Bentancur, he's an 8. He's not a 6. He's an 8 because we've seen under Conte, you know, in kind of that whether it was a midfield 3 or a midfield 2, you know, in the 3-4-3, he was able to get forward, kind of get into goal scoring positions, you know, and it proved that he's actually, when he gets into the final third, he's actually quite effective. So for me, with Bentancur, you want to have him, not saying in the number 10, but you want to have him further forward than the number 6. You don't want to have him in front of the back. You don't want to have him in front of the back 4 because I think you're losing out on what he can offer attacking wise.
You basically want him as a star, as a box to box. That's what you're saying.
Box to box midfielder. Yeah, box to box midfielder. I think Bissouma is much more of a 6 than Bentancur. I think we've seen him play in the 6 a lot. At the start of the season, I thought he was fantastic, you know, in the 6 alongside Sarr. But for whatever reason, since I think it was the Luton game, he's just, I don't know, Bissouma, he hasn't really been the same.
I agree.
He's just he's I don't know what that is. So yeah, no, for me, Bissouma's a 6, but I think we need to bring in someone, you know, preferably someone who will replace Højbjerg, probably, you know, who's probably going to leave. I think for me, a lot of people are suggesting, and I'm seeing reports that we're linked with Gallagher. For me, that's a big no. I think Gallagher's massively overrated. I think all he does for me is just press. Apart from that, he doesn't really offer anything else. So for me, there's many players out there for probably half the price as well that you can go and get that will be 10 times better. For example, let me come to that. Manu Kone at Gladbach, if any of you have watched him.
Yeah, I was going to do but
Kone, yeah, I think Kone's a very good option. I think Palacios at Leverkusen is a very good option. For those of you that don't know, I try to watch a lot of football, European football. So,
what do you think of Thuram as well? Thuram as a midfielder.
Thuram, yeah, he's again, I haven't seen as much of him as I've seen of the others I mentioned, but from what I've seen a bit of him. From what I have seen, he looks decent, and he was linked with, I think, Liverpool and Newcastle. So, yeah, no, look, for me, I think we need to bring in a midfielder. Who that is, I'm not sure, but I don't think people like Gallagher we should be going for. I think Stel said it in the chat as well. You know, Gallagher, he doesn't possess the technical, quick passing ability that Ange would want in his style of play. So yeah, and again, like I said, going to be massively overpriced and stuff. So yeah, no, look, I think there's many midfielders that we can go and get.
It's only a year left on his contract, Charlie, and the thing is, you know, whether you rate him or not, Ange 100% rates him. The thing is,
but how do you know? How do you know that though? We don't know. None of us know.
I do know, but there you go.
Well, I don't know. I don't know about that.
Right. Well, what I would say to you is that him wanting to come is another matter. Okay, but no, I take your point. But you know, we were talking to Charlie before about getting someone flexible that can't just play in the 6. You know.
Yeah, I think Manu Kone can play in the 6 and the 8.
Yeah. Oh, he's a good player. No two ways about it.
Yeah.
No two ways about it.
I think also, Johnny, another player I would say is Edison at Atalanta. I think Jay mentioned him. He seems to look like a good one. Yeah, he's someone I'd like to see us bring in.
Well, they're asking 60 million for him, so I don't know how. You know, I don't know how that one's going to work out. Are you getting rid of Skippy as well? You are.
Personally, I would. I just don't think he suits Ange's style of football whatsoever. No. So yeah, I think Højbjerg and Skip, I'd get rid of both of them. You know, I think, you know, we bought in Bergvall. We don't know how good he is. I think we'll have to wait and see on that one. But you know, I do think we need to bring another midfielder in there, and yeah, who that is, I guess we'll wait and see. You know, so.
Ash, you know those videos before. Have you got any further on that video? Have you got anything?
Yeah. I was going to get everyone's thoughts about Maddison coming in deep, but what did you want to say?
No, I just wanted to see whether you had the Johnson giving away the ball twice when it led to Ansu Fati. No, I'm just saying, because a lot of people seem to have missed the fact he did it twice within 5 minutes, and then the last one just before he scored, he gave away the ball poorly. He didn't run back to cover it, and Ansu Fati should have buried the chance. I didn't know whether you had that on your video. It was a good video, by the way.
It was excellent. It was excellent. I was gonna compliment it.
I thought I was on Sky Sports for a minute.
Seriously. He
Oh,
only needed himself. Neville and Carragher rolled into one. The one thing I was going to say, like, I thought it was really good analysis of how we actually played.
He's doing his Micah Richards now.
I'm just here to laugh. That's what I'm into. I'm just here to laugh. So the point now I'm laughing. The point that I was trying to make about is that I don't at the moment like talking too much about Spurs at half time, because it almost feels more emotional than actually an actual reflection of what I thought of the game. It happened against Brentford too, where I thought we were bad, but we weren't as bad as I thought we were. We were just, not on it. Again, this time we were better than we were against Brentford, but I didn't think we were terrible. I just thought, do you know what I mean? So I just thought I'd hold my powder. And with Maddison, I think the idea was quite smart, because Van Heck was coming a long way with him. So the idea of him dropping deep it's almost like a test at certain points as well. I think sometimes there'll be actual intention to get on the ball and dictate. But then in other instances, it's more of is he going to come all the way with me? What space is that going to leave in the rest of the team? What does his teammates do when he vacates that space? So there's an element of learning in real time for him, a game state that Spurs maybe didn't know. And then you've got the additional impact of the coaches watching the video, seeing the tape in the first half, being able to make minor adjustments in the second half, and then that'll kick on. So, yeah, really, really great video. And I thought that the Maddison deep thing is very interesting from a no space between the lines kind of thing. They've been briefed not to give him any. And also a in-game intelligence. I sometimes talk about our players' in-game intelligence. This potentially was a savvy personal move from the player to try and find space, but also see the terrain of the game as well. So yeah, nice.
I mean, Maddison's not firing. Let's be honest. I spoke to Leicester fans last season about Maddison when we were first linked with him, and they all said the same thing. When he's been out on his injury, it takes him about 4 or 5 games before he gets back. He's not the sort of player that comes straight back in after an injury and takes off where he left off in the previous game. So what we now is this game 3? Is it third game back?
I think it's third game back, yeah.
Third game back. So I expect by Palace to start seeing the James Maddison, because I believe once he starts purring, I think we're going to see an entirely different.
Is that because? Sorry to cut you, Johnny. Is that because?
Right.
Is it because Maddison lost the ball in possession, and the same with Bentancur? Is it because they lost the ball in possession? Is that the reason why fans are like they're not quite themselves yet? Because in my opinion, I feel like you need to take risks to kind of beat those presses.
Yeah.
If you beat the press, then the space is in behind, if that makes sense. So these players are trying to be assertive. They're trying to get on the ball. You see Udogie a lot of the time. He gets the ball, he picks it up, and sometimes he loses it. But the whole point is you either pass through the lines or you kind of dribble and carry.
Sorry, Ash, I'm going to have to shoot.
Yeah, nice one. Thanks
Cheers
for
having me on. Great show.
Okay, Charlie.
Thank you, guys.
Take care, man.
Ash, by the way, that video you did of the analysis was very good. I liked it. So, yeah. Again, cheers for having me on. Hopefully, I'll be back on here soon. Yeah. Big up everyone on here as well.
Yeah, Charlie. Nice speaking to you.
Yeah. Cheers, guys. Good to meet you guys for the first time.
Okay, Charlie.
Nice one. Take care.
Take care. Yeah. So Johnny, so that was my question back to you, kind of like it's time for the adults to talk now. I'm joking. He can't even defend himself.
You're a terrible guy.
No, I'm joking. So yeah, do you think like it's Maddison, like on his good day he beats a play, he doesn't lose possession and he does it, or is it a case of decision making, like Because I think, in my opinion, there's times to kind of do the half turn, and there's times to kind of lay it off. Do you see what I'm trying to say? There's time to do like off the wall pass, to like maybe your fullback or your centre back, or even go back to Vicario. Do you know what I mean? Just to keep possession. And there's time when there's more space, you check your shoulder and you're like, all right, cool. Now I'm going to do the half turn. Now I'm going to run at my player. Now I'm going to dribble it. And do you think that's more of a thing where Maddison and maybe Bentancur, as they get in more games, they get more into the rhythm and they pick up their level? Because a lot of people are like, oh, his knee injury and his hip injury and the ankle, they're not quite fit. What do you think it is?
I think, look, for me, what was desperately missing, everyone was going, look at Richarlison, he's offside every second. That's because he's making a run and there was no one in the midfield that understood when to hit that first time pass. That's what Maddison does, that first time pass. You know, the problem we got at the moment is, you know, when Bentancur amazingly came back from his first injury, he came into that team. I could not believe what I was watching. He was unbelievable. It was like he'd never been away. The first touch, the sublime movement, bringing the ball out of defence, slipping players through. I was thinking, wow, this is unbelievable. And then we all saw what happened with the Matty Cash challenge. He's come back from this one and he's looked miles off it. And Maddison, he looks that second off, you know, hanging on to, waiting for the ball to come to him, you know, trying to play on the ref that he's been taken from behind, when really, come on, Maddison, you were waiting for the ball to come to you. You know, just a little bit of delay, that freshness, that crispness that is there. And then we found him coming really deep in that second half to try and get the ball, a bit like he did in Brentford. Was it Brentford away game? I think it was when we first saw it, first game of the season when he was dropping deep. I think Maddison's at 70% at the moment. I really do. I don't think he's anywhere near it. So we've got Maddison at 70%, a Bentancur that's, I don't know where he is, maybe 60%. We got Papa So's come back, who I thought had a really good game, covering lots of space. We've got Basuma that's been out of sorts, and we got Sarr who's knackered. So I think this week is crucial. The time on this pitch now to get these guys back, get the camaraderie back. We've got a full strength team. And I think there can be no excuses from this point on in how we play. I think we can allow what happened on the weekend because Brighton are a very, very good team. And, you know, we were a little bit rusty. We had players coming back. I think Gary O'Neill tactically will give us a hard game as well. I think Wolves will be a really hard game. I'm hoping Cunha is out on the weekend and it's just Neto we're dealing with. But I think if we win this game against Wolves, I'm really full of confidence that we can go to Villa and really maybe potentially give them a game, because I feel like we're 2 games away from being back on Son, which one do you want to call it? So,
Andy, just to get your thoughts on Maddison dropping deep, what are your thoughts on it? And yeah, what's your take on it?
I think, well, I mean, Van Heck was tracking him anywhere he went. I was sitting in the South Stand. I saw Maddison next to me. I saw Van Heck next to him as well. So it was always one that if we were smart and brave and we break that press, you saw Richarlison was in every single time, because Richarlison kept looking to the side of him and going, there's no one here. Mm-hmm. Dunk, but I can't see Van Heck. Van Heck's about 40 yards the other way. This is the thing where I think this will separate Basuma from a lot of people, because Basuma will beat that press. We saw it. I mean, away to Arsenal, I thought Basuma was absolutely phenomenal. They pressed Basuma at every single opportunity, and he was running away from every one of them every single time. So I think Maddison maybe wouldn't have to do that as much, because I think Basuma would do it for him. And I think when we're at our best is Basuma breaking that press, and then Maddison sitting in space going, hit me before I start hitting Son, you know? So it's not ideal. It's something that we can get by with, but I think that's where Basuma is truly needed, just to free up Maddison to do what Maddison does best at the 10.
Quick question, guys, just on the top 4. And I want to get your thoughts on it. can we make top 4? And it's a loaded question. If we get top 4 and we get Champions League, does that impact the opportunities for your youth players, such as your the Vines, your Dorringtons, your Phillips, your like you name it, like the Bergville coming in? Do you think that all of a sudden like hampers at your release? Because a lot of people are calling for, and some of the people on this panel said like we need to get Neto, we need to get top wingers in now, we need top midfielders. But does that affect their availability coming in? I'll bring Jay in straight away because Jay's just come in. So
come on, Mika.
About this whole
I was having an episode. Listen, I've always, my thing is that like the people will go over the top either way. Last year, the academy was crap. We were getting relegated. We were rubbish. What's wrong with the academy? This year, it's these players aren't getting enough games. I think the truth is always somewhere in the middle. We're not a creche. You know what I mean? As in, like, I look at an academy as a place for these players to learn to be the very best footballers they can be. No prerequisite that they get and play for Tottenham Hotspur. They're fortunate that they're able to train and develop in our environment, but there's no we have to offer a pathway, but there's no guarantees. So it has to be earned. Now we have Vuskovic, we have Bergvall. We're trying to, we brought Herbie James in, even Tyrese Hall we picked up from Chelsea and stuff like that. We are trying to bring in the creme de la creme.
16 to 19.
Yeah, the best. Now, what that means is that some of the people in the Tottenham ecosystem won't make it. They'll probably go on to be good professional footballers, probably have Premier League careers, but they're just not going to do it at Tottenham Hotspur. Now, I want there to be a pathway, but at the level that we're going to try and aspire to, there's no babying. The players are either good enough to contribute or they're not. And if they're close enough to the line of being good enough to contribute, we'll work with them, develop them, get them to that level. But if they're not, I don't want it to be a Troy Parrott situation under Mourinho when the fans are like, he should play. Mourinho's like, he's not ready. Like, at the end of the day, the coaches have maybe, but it's like the coaches have more data than us. That's not to say they can't be wrong or I have to agree with their decision. It's just I think we're providing an excellent environment for young players to develop. Now, the pathway to the first team, it needs to be there, because otherwise what happens then is it inverts on itself. And these players don't think they're going to make it at Tottenham. They don't think they're going to get a chance, and they stop wanting to sign. They don't renew their contracts. So very thin line between contributing to the first team, giving them time, making sure the pathway exists, not turning off future prospects, / also winning in real time. Thank God it's Angie's decision and not mine,
Can I ask you a question, right? Personally, I don't believe that Ange is the type of guy that will give a Mainu or a Miley, a chance. I don't believe that right now. I'm struggling to believe that. I want to believe it. I'm not 100% convinced. Listen, I was down at Wimbledon last Tuesday to watch the under-18 Cup game against Bournemouth. Not sure what possessed me to go, but I decided I was going to go. But it took me an hour and a half to get there. But anyway, look, I went down there and it was very encouraging. Mikey Moore is unbelievable. He is such a standout talent. It's ridiculous. I thought Callum Oluwise is another fantastic talent. Beautiful touch on the ball. For me, he really stood out. I mean, those two stood out. They play for each other in England, for England as well. And of course, Tyrese Hall. I'm looking at the others. Yeah, there were some good performances, but there weren't standouts. And I think the thing is, what Fabio did 2 years ago when he cleared out all the Instagram kids, you know, the kids that, you know, oh, my son's playing for Tottenham. He's not, right? He's at the creche and he ain't going anywhere. We need to get rid of those players, but because this is a serious business. We need to produce players, and we are producing some very, very good players. But I'm a little concerned, I'll be honest with you, what we did do when Romain Mundell left. We decided, Fabio managed to convince the powers that be to up the wage structure, break the wage structure that we had for these academy kids. And we got a whole series of them to sign contracts or rolling contracts. I think Mikey Moore has got one contract for a year, but rolls into a pro contract. So I'm not 100% sure how secure that is. But my worry is, having seen all the injuries that Spurs had this season, where we were down to the bare bones, he decided to, rather than bring in a kid, he would rather have 3 goalkeepers, right? Or 2 goalkeepers. And for me, that was a bit worried. I didn't see, you know, apart from Jamie Donnelly getting a few minutes here and there, 5 minutes. I'm not saying he's good enough to get more minutes, but there were opportunities. Did it send the message that even in adverse conditions, when we've been depleted, that we're never going to get a game? I'm really hoping that the club has now changed how we deal with loans, because our loans this winter have been exceptionally good. There's been a lot of good thought process behind them. And I think it's imperative, because you cannot leave them in the under-21s without game time. Let them thrive. If they're not going to get game time with us, they need to thrive in the Championship or a low Premier League. I want us to see us have a better model in bringing these players through, because there is undoubted talent.
Andy, top 4. Can we do it? Now, I brought this table up because I'm just looking at our next few games after Wolves. By the way, guys, we've got a 2-week break. What do we do with that 2-week break? But
it's only 2 weeks. I thought it was longer. Is it only 2 weeks?
It's 2 weeks, I think,
yeah.
From Saturday. 2 weeks. It's March the 2nd. We go and play Palace.
Is that a disadvantage?
Yeah, because they might get Eze back by then.
Yeah,
well,
they
Eze will be back. I'm told Eze will be back for Everton.
But yeah,
who's not back for Everton? Did you say again?
Pardon?
Did you say again? Sorry.
I was told that he's hoping to be back for Everton. Which game?
Everton for them. Maybe it's the game after us then.
Is it the game after us? I'm not sure. Let me
but
just check.
Just going back to Andy real quick. Sorry. Palace, we play next after Wolves, which is March the 2nd. Then we go away to Villa Park. Then we play Fulham away at Craven Cottage. And you know, our away form isn't the best. We haven't got the best away record on the road.
I think we literally have one of the best. Like when you say that, I think it's like first or second or third or something.
Yeah, he'll be back. They're saying he'll be back for the Burnley game, so he will definitely be back probably for Palace for Spurs.
Okay, so they're saying he'll be back for this weekend.
He should be back for Burnley
right.
after Everton.
Tottenham have Luton at home. We've got West Ham away. And then we're playing Forest at home before we get into that April tricky fixture list. So I've just earmarked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and if I include Wolves, 7 games. So in those next 7 games, how many points do you think Spurs can pick up? And if typically Spurs need 72 points to get top 4, how many of those games do you think do we need to win before we get into that tricky fixture list?
I think we'll do.
No, Andy. I want Andy to say this one first. Sorry, we'll come to you after.
I mean, looking at it, you would look at obviously Wolves. You want to check that up. Ideally, as a win. Palace the same. So I think the home games you want to check them all up as wins. The away ones. Let's say what you want about Fulham. It's a London derby, and they're the hardest games to predict, in my opinion, no matter what the team it is that you're playing. Villa away, that feels like pointers. That feels massive. That does, you know. look, I mean, I know, look, United are 6 or 7 points behind us. And it's quite funny. I saw people saying, oh, look, we're on a charge, we're on a charge, we're on a charge. They started the weekend 6 points behind. They finished the weekend 6 points behind with 1 game less. So I don't think they're on a charge just yet. But I think the one thing I would pay attention to in the list of those teams that we're playing is how many big players they're missing or getting back. Also, the managers that might be changing in that time. But we don't know if Moyes is going to be sticking around. We don't know if Hodgson's going to be there when we play Palace as well. I mean, Elise is out. And I know we talk about Eze, but Eze's not going to be 100%. We talk about Maddison and Bentancur and all our guys not be 100%. He's going to be the exact same. So when we look at 7 out of 21 points, I think, look, even if I was being really pessimistic and saying Villa would be a loss, we've got to be looking at the rest of those and coming away and saying those have got to be wins. You know, if we're serious about that top 4, I'm not too worried about the top 3 in the title race. I need to be a little bit more realistic. We lost Harry Kane at the start of this year. We've had 1,000 injuries. We've had suspensions. Top 4 would still be a fantastic achievement. And I think Villa would be the one that you sit there and go, that's pretty brutal. But looking at the back end of the season with, like you said, those horrific run of games, I think we've got to be looking at least, genuinely, I think 6 wins. And I know I might be a little bit optimistic, but I think it might come down to us really loading up on points now ahead of that tough run at the end.
Jay? What's your expectation of those next 6 to 7 games? How many can we accumulate? And Aston Villa, that's a good point.
Villa's a big game, but the thing is, like, now I've seen the team in so many different environments and games now. I have a general expectation for the team. Like, so it's like, I don't really expect us to lose until we get in line to like the Liverpool's aways and stuff like that, because that's just a cursed fixture. Do you know what I mean? So there's no issues with that. I look at it more from the point of view saying, next 7 games, I'd expect a minimum of 5 wins, 1 draw. Yeah, that's what I'd expect based off our form. We've got 4 home games in that, so I'd expect us to do our away form's good. I've been seeing United go Villa. I've seen who else went Villa recently and won? Because they've lost 3 in a row. Newcastle. Yeah. So I've seen Newcastle go there and win. I've seen United go there and win. Like, I'm definitely not seeing my team go there and lose. Like, that's my mentality with that. My team is not going there to lose when I've seen inferior teams go there and win. So that I'll allow for a draw if we get some sort of nonsensey referee decisions. But aside from that, the rest of it, we need to be, between now and the end of the season, for me, we need to be showcasing the kind of form that you want to be taking into next season. It's one of the main reasons I say this quite a lot is I try not to get into the measuring contest of, we've got the best right back or we've got the best left back or Maddison's better than Odegaard. One thing you were saying about Bentancur and Maddison before, by the way, I just remembered it's the hips. It's the Shakira thing. They're a bit stiff in their hips. Yeah, like they like one of the things I'll give Odegaard, his hip movement. Yeah, like throw a man with his feint of body and stuff like that. Maddison's good, but sometimes it's a little obvious what he's trying to do. Whereas Odegaard's a little bit like, oh, okay. So that was just that sojourn. But yeah, no, that's kind of how I'm looking at the overall form that we're looking at. You saying that these players are the best players, these players are top players. Well, they need to show it. Do you know what I mean? They need to be winning these games. They need to be showing like 80 point across the season form. And I think they're capable. And that's when we can start, thinking about being in Jose Mourinho's words, a little horse for next season. But yeah, like five wins, 1 draws. What I'd expect, hopefully at the least.
Johnny, I was going to ask you a slightly different question on that top 4 race. Is there any like banana skins? Like, obviously we're all Spurs fans, so we're seeing it with Spurs lenses. But like Andy was saying, when it comes to the final two games, we're all taking for granted that they're easy wins. We've got Sheffield United; they may be relegated by them. You know what it is? Sometimes when you need to get that win against that relegated team, and they've got nothing to play for, they all of a sudden start to turn up. Can you see any like banana skins along the way? Maybe not Sheffield United. I'm just throwing that one.
Imagine the scenario where we go on an unbeaten run, right? And we go down to the last game and we need to beat Sheffield United, relegated Sheffield United with the least amount of points ever scored in the Premier League. And all Spurs have got to do is go there and win. And it all goes Pete Tong.
Nah, I'm chill. I'm chill. Remember Norwich? I'm okay with that. Norwich exercised some demons for me with regard that kind of that.
I remember Newcastle.
Yeah,
remember that one.
I remember Newcastle as well. Yeah,
that was
4-1 slapping. Was it 4 or 5?
No, listen, look, I think we need to win these games. I feel like we need to go unbeaten to the run of those 4 games against City, Liverpool, Newcastle, Arsenal. Because if we can go unbeaten, then the pressure is equally on them as it is on us and those 4 teams that we play.
How many points do you think we get from that top 4 kind of top 6 clash?
It's hard to say right now. And that
do you
got 14? We can beat anyone.
And in the comments, do you guys fancy us against Arsenal at home? Obviously, they're now set piece kings. Obviously, they're in form. You've got West Ham. West Ham's always West Ham. I know they got slapped by Arsenal 6-0, but you know they've always been a banana skin for us. We've got Newcastle away. It's not like Newcastle home. Newcastle away is a lot different. I know we smashed them 4-1 at home, but they looked really tired. Maybe they're up for it now. They got all their players coming back, similar to us. Is there a feeling that anyone thinks maybe we kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say Spursy, but we kind of let it slip out of our grasp just at the final hurdle? No? Okay, cool. I'll move on. So, yeah, I want to talk about, just to finish off, guys, Wolves. I just want to quickly touch on Wolves real quick, and then I promise it's over. It's done, because it's been a long show. Big up everyone for being on the show as well. Big up you in the comments, because I couldn't do it without you.
It's been a strong comment section as well.
It's very strong today. But, yeah, I wanted to talk about Wolverhampton, and I was going to get you guys' thoughts before I say my piece on it. So
Wolves worry me, man.
Yeah,
they worry me a lot. They worry me a lot. How they play, like Gary O'Neill will have a plan for us.
100%.
He'll have a decent plan for us, right? 2, they have the players that they'll match us for intensity. They'll match us for running. Yeah, they'll go with their runners. They'll focus. And then on the break, Cunha, Neto, on the break, hopefully horrible matchups. Neto versus Porro. I'm sure Porro will do his due diligence, but that's the kind of matchup when you're running into Porro's zone and he's out of position or he's backpedaling or he's tracking back. People like Neto is not the kind of player that you want, but I trust us to win and find solutions, but Wolves is another matchup, like a Brentford, there's so many of these matchups this season, which just because of how we play, I'm not saying we're easy to set up against, but a team that can set up a mid to low block with a good level of intensity off a press and has good players on the counter is going to cause us problems at some point during the 90 minutes for a period of time. That's as well, at least for this season anyway. So, yeah.
Was Porro injured? He went off. He looked like he was hobbling. I tried to look to see if I could see any news.
Yeah.
But I haven't been able to see any. Anyone heard anything?
No, I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen anything.
And Hwang is back as well, which is hot. That's the one I was thinking. Neto, Hwang, and Cunha, lovely.
Lamina as well, don't forget him. But
Lamina, João Gomez, Ainori, Semedo's having a good little season under the radar. He's having a nice little season.
It's going to be a tough game.
It's going to be a hard game, mate.
Yeah, Andy, are you worried on the back of the performance against Brighton? You know, we didn't really blow Brighton away. Wolves are just as intense. Do you have any concerns, like looking at what we did against Everton as well, taking into consideration how we played against Brentford? It was only like the last, a 15-minute period where we blew them away. But are you worried about Wolves? They've done damage to obviously Newcastle, Chelsea. They beat, and Man United. They almost done over. They got, it was a 4-3. It was a last-minute goal by Maino. Otherwise, they would have got a point from them. Man City, they beaten already this season. Can this be a banana skin for Spurs?
Well, I mean, look, they beat us this season as well. You know, I think that game. Don't think about it, but I think of that game as a game that is going to be completely different to this one in a weird way, because you look at the team that we played that day. We had Emerson at left back, we had Dyer and Davies at centre half, we had Højbjerg and Sarr was our creative midfielder. You know, this team's going to be completely different that we are putting out there. And I think week on week, we're getting that little bit. I mean, you think of the two centre halves, Van der Ven and Romero's missed a lot of time over the last few months. They're getting better and better and better as well. Gary O'Neill has got those guys humming. And I think a lot of people actually predicted Wolves. I think I did, to be honest. And they are humming. They give me Ange vibes at Wolves. They run themselves into the ground. They're very well drilled. You never really catch Wolves out of position, really. You know, you never see a player thinking, like whenever you see like Porro sitting in centre midfield and thinking, right, well, they're counter-attacking. Where are you, mate? You know, you never see that. I think you will score against, but you feel like they could score 3 or 4 against you. I'll be nervous about it, obviously, but I think we should be going into the game. If we hit our stride like we did with Everton in spells, like we did with Brighton in spells, Brentford as well, you know, without someone doing the dart celebration to wind up Maddison, because every time someone does that, it always backfires on them. If we hit that, and I think that was about like 4th gear, we just didn't stay there for very long. If we hit 4th gear, we win this game. That's the way I'm going to look at it. But if we take them lightly, like we did the first game, they will get us.
Yeah, and I agree, man. I just want to talk about it myself. Wolves is a tricky game. I saw the way they played against us, regardless of, as you said, Eric Dyer being in defence. We had Ben Davies as well. I think was it Emerson Royale playing left back at that game as well.
Yeah, Emerson Royale was left.
We're missing your doggy. We're missing your doggy. Sarr was playing the Maddison role, which
he brought on Dyer, didn't he?
He brought Dyer on. Yeah. Sarr was playing. Was it Højbjerg?
Didn't Dyer start?
No, Dyer started.
Dyer started.
Who came on? Was it Davis? Hang on. Who was it?
No, Dyer and Davies started centre back. Emerson was left back. Porro was right back. If I recall.
I was there, and all I remember is like after about 20 minutes, Brennan Johnson was running in front of me, right through, quite near to the.
I'm going to put a Brennan Johnson jar here, right for you, bro.
Basically, I saw him bent over double after 20 minutes, sucking it up. And I'm going, what's going on? Like, he's 22, he's out of breath. What's going on? It's 20 minutes of the first half, right? And we put it down to, if we were 20 minutes, we thought it was because he'd just come back from a little injury. And maybe that's why he was. But how we lost that game. I made the cardinal sin, Ash.
Yeah.
I turned around to my son and I went, here, son, look at the table. We played bad today, but all that matters is this. And I showed him the league table, right? And as we looked down at the league table, they scored the first goal, right?
Mad.
All right. And I went, oh my God, I can't believe it, right? And then Sarabia, wasn't it, who scored the
Oh, that goal was amazing, by the way.
Yeah. I remember that goal. I remember people were not overanalyzing it, but that's what makes me think that Wolves game.
Yes.
I think we would have lost it. I honestly think we might have lost that game regardless. Because Wolves were just on it that day. They were really on it, and they were like, it was. I've seen Van der Ven make mistakes against United, in the first game, in the first time we played them, and get away with it. Like, I've seen, players get away with certain decisions and not. The 2 goals that Wolves scored, the Sarabia one is basically undefendable to a large extent. People can make argument, maybe this guy should have pressed, maybe this guy should have done this, maybe this guy should have done that. But, I think the defense, we might have got a point or we might have held out, but the Everton game and stuff tells me that it's feasible what happened at the end could have still happened. Maybe not in the exact way it played out, but they put us under a lot of pressure.
You know who was unbelievable in that game? And again, I've got to put it down, the referee again. He was unbelievable, but he got away with absolute murder. It was Lamina. Lamina got away with murder again and again and again. He was fouling. Nothing happened to him. Nothing happened to him. He got a late. He should have had about 3 or 4 yellow cards. I mean, I can't believe what was going on. You know, the fans where we were all going ballistic, and there he was putting the ball through for Sarabia at the end. Did he score one as well? Didn't he?
Sarabia, Lamina. Was it Lamina that scored?
Yeah, I think Lamina scored as well. But listen, he should not. He should have been on it. He should have been walking a tightrope. But he was fantastic in the middle of the park. And you know, if he's going to come and bully us again, you know, I hope that the Spurs players are not going to go all like shake his hand when he chops them down and say don't matter.
Yeah,
I want us to see it play the referees, man.
I think the Wolves are going to set up in a 3. Maybe last time they did 3-5-2, but I think this time there'll be a 3-4-2-1 formation. I expect Sarr to start in goal with Dawson right here. He's not number 5, but I expect Dawson to be at the heart of the centre back, and then you're going to have possibly Max Kilman on the left. And I'm not sure. Maybe Totti, Gomez on the right. I'm not sure who they're going to.
Maybe Kilman in the middle, Totti over.
Yeah, maybe. But at times, I'm going to expect to see these two.
Dawson available.
Dawson might be. Yeah, Dawson. Yeah, I think Dawson's available.
Dawson will probably start.
I think Dawson will start in that team.
Yeah, I'd probably say Dawson, Kilman, Totti is feasible.
Yeah, Dawson and Kilman are going to be very good in the air. You know.
Yeah. I think Kilman's improved a lot this season, so I expect Kilman to start on the left, and sometimes he helps out his fullback when the fullback's not there, but he's done well coming up. But I think what they're going to do to us is I can see these strikers and wingers, they got a front 3. I expect them to kind of get a little bit more narrow. I don't know if you can see that, a little bit more narrow on the centre backs. Just to cut off into our number 6.
Yeah, that's horrible. That.
And then here are 2 8s, whoever they may be. Even if our 8s do drop,
they're gonna go with them.
And then the Udogi tries to drop into space, and Porro drops into that space. I expect them to be ultra aggressive, super tight on us, and win that ball back and do that cover shadow.
So the easiest way to avoid this would be to leave Udogi or Porro deep to help build up, but he won't do that, right?
Correct. So I'd expect Udogi to maybe pull out here.
Yeah.
Maybe our centre backs to split just to create a third man pass. So when our goalkeeper passes it out, if he goes to press, then we've got a spare man right here, and we've got a spare man here, and we're able to break the press, and then Richarlison would have to drop in this hole right here, and that's how we can beat their press, because they're going to be super aggressive, in my opinion, in this midfield area, and that's what we got to be careful. But this space here, I think we exploit the space right here. We can hit that, and it all depends on our transitions out of the back and kind of beating that press, that mid block, I call it, and they've done that really well in terms of trying to pin us back in our own half or pin us back in midfield.
We need an early yellow for Lamina. He bossed the game. I'm telling you, he absolutely bossed it last time. And, you know, we can't allow him to do that again. We really can't. I'm hoping now with Sarr played in that game. Just trying to think who the midfield was.
It was Sarr, Højbjerg, and Bissouma. Højbjerg and Bissouma the midfield.
Yeah.
You sure it was Bissouma and not Skip?
No, it's Bissouma.
Yeah, because Skip came on, I think. Because Bissouma was having a stinker.
Yeah, he was. He was
having a stinker, Bissouma.
He was. And that's another thing I was going to bring up as well, guys. Let me just close this for a bit. I was going to say, like, you know, everyone's expecting Bissouma to come back and be, you know, the super number 6 that he was. And actually, if you look at the Luton game, he didn't play too bad, but then that's when he got the sending off. And I feel like after that, that's when he got the suspension. He missed the game, and then when he did come back, he played within himself.
Yeah.
And then ever since then, people been like, Basuma, I'm not too sure, like that. This, and then he came and he got another disciplinary act. I think he got a red card. I can't remember who it was against.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Forest.
And then he went to AFCON. And we haven't seen.
And I swear there was another game where he could have got a red card.
Yes.
Like,
Well,
he
no,
didn't.
he got the red card, and then when he came on, because he got another yellow, because it still carried on, he got a yellow which suspended him.
No, but I swear there was a different game that he played that he was on a booking and he could have got another booking, or he got a yellow, but it could have been a red. Like I can't remember what game it was, but I remember watching it thinking, and you're absolutely right, he started playing within himself.
I think it was Forest. I think it was Forest. He got the red card at Forest, I think.
Yeah, but
I think before that, it was maybe, I don't know if it was Newcastle, or was he missing Newcastle? I can't remember.
Well, maybe it was Romero. Sorry, maybe it was Romero that did something. Romero fouled someone against Newcastle. Yeah, Romero against Wilson. Sorry, and he could have been sent. He could have been sent off again.
But the point I'm making is that he played within himself. I remember he wasn't quite the same ever since.
But I think also he feel like he failed the team to get suspended at that time with so many players missing. Was an absolute travesty.
He's turned into the Mourinho. He's turned into the Conte Basuma, not the Basuma we saw under Potter. Is basically it. You know, when we all asked the question, you know, he's learning the system. He's not very bright. He can't understand Conte's system. You're thinking he's 25 years of age. He's an international. He's played in the Premier League for years. Well, what do you mean he can't play in the system? He's played. You know, he's played as an attacking midfielder. He's played as a holding midfielder. You know, but what we've seen is an irresponsible Basuma who's not disciplined. Hopefully, he will go back. Listen, Ash, I'm going to have to head now.
I'm trying to end it.
I'm 2 hours.
You keep jumping in, guys. I'm trying to finish the damn show.
I'm trying to finish it. I'm trying to done the show. So, guys, another one. Please like, share, subscribe, notifications, all that good stuff. Please subscribe to all of these guys. We've got Spurs Inside Spurs TV with Andy. Thanks for coming on. When can we see you next on what's next on? What have you got coming up? Real quick.
I'll probably be uploading again tomorrow morning. I like to do a bit of a lone roundup talking about all the lads out online, so I'll probably be doing that tomorrow morning.
Definitely going to get you back on because normally I do transfer talks as well. And this is like probably the first time I haven't done like a video analysis on a player. So definitely we'll get you back on, man. We'll have some fun. Johnny, where can we find you? What's going on next?
You can find me on Devil's Advocate on Spurs Talk Show with Sean on Tuesday normally, or midday. And you can find me on Tottenham on Tour with Brighton on Anger Management. That's after the game, so that will be Sunday 12 o'clock. We do a review of the game, which is always interesting, and people are still trying to understand the format because it's negatives, positives, special mentions, and when you go in the negatives, people they come on and they go, "Oh my God, you two are so negative." Hello, we're in the negative section of the game, right? Okay, they still haven't worked it out, right? Months in. Anyway, thanks very much, Ash, for having me on.
Yeah.
Give me a follow on my Twitter, and you see me on Spaces as well. And as always, Jay, great to be on.
It's lovely. It's lovely to see you. It's the first time. Excellent. It's been good to
always good. And Andy, first time popping a cherry with you, and with Ash. Thanks very much for having us on, man.
Cool. Jay, any last thoughts before?
Yes. So I'm gonna be starting a show soon. I'm actually starting.
Hey!
I know it's slightly different. So it's called the Team Sheet Pod. Concept is
hold them accountable to this.
Yeah.
Hold them accountable.
Yeah. So concept is basically it's going to be like 1 hour, maybe just over an hour show, 11 topics like a team sheet, going to get released every Monday, and essentially we're just going to go through the 11 biggest topics / issues that I've found with football at the time, and then we'll break it down over YouTube across the week. So Probably going to start it a week on Monday.
Week on one. Oh wait.
If the stars align. But yeah, looking forward to that, and I will probably have all of you on at a certain point. Let me get my little baby wings under me first, and then we'll roll.
No
out.
more complaining that we haven't signed Dragusin after 9.
Oh, you know what's the funniest? The funniest thing is like I probably won't make it just Spurs. I'm probably gonna go broader, purely because you guys do so many good channels about Spurs. It's almost like I almost feel like there's nothing I can really add.
You're not going full Grimsby, are you?
No, I'm going. I think we'll do predominantly Prem. I'll probably pretend I know something about the EFL. Maybe squeeze something about Serie A. Do you know what I mean? But we'll see how it plays out.
The
but,
Flexi football show sounds.
That's what I'm saying. I can't compete with this level of Sky Sports.
Get out of here, man.
Get
out of here, man.
You see the budget I'm competing with.
Out of here, man.
Hey, next he's
Don't worry about
going to see him on screen going like this.
Hey, don't be surprised, you know. Don't.
Guys,
it's what I'm saying. No, but thank you very much for having me. It's been a fantastic stream. Like Andy, Johnny, Ash, all of you, fantastic. Great analysis. Brilliant. What can we say?
Up to the people in the comments, you've made the show exceptional as well. But yeah, as always, come on, you Spurs. Come on, you Spurs.